Hi, this is Chris Duff here, again, managing partner over at Sirius Land Capital, ready for our next podcast in the circuit. This is number two here, already figuring out the various AI editing tools and how to post and so forth. So all this will become smoother over time, but I've been finding a little bit more pep in this step and kind of excited thinking about, all right, if this is truly an indefinite journey to produce daily content, it just has uh, the wheels turning in my head a little bit more on, okay, what value add can I really bring today? It brings this extra level of focus, because even though this is going to be a volume play here, still bringing high quality value add content is going to be a necessity for any chance of success here. And this all goes back to the structure piece that I mentioned in the first episode of trying to box myself in a bit more to reliably take myself and our business to the next level, and also be able to bring out as much contribution potential as I have internally to be able to give to you as the audience here. So the topic I was thinking a lot more about today, and has caused a lot of issues over the past few months and probably cost me a lot of money, and not probably, I know it's cost me a lot of money and time by not managing it as well as I could have, is just engaging in proper project management. And this applies regardless of what type of business you're building. I know a lot of you are kind of running a standard land flipping business with an acquisition dispo side, as is well documented. We're rapidly building out and attempting to release this new land pricer AI software. So I've been having to project manage two different teams working on it. One, a script engineering team, primarily comprised of Philippine VAs, though it's through an agency based here in the US, and then a front-end, back-end engineering team that has a US-based German project manager managing a Pakistani agency of coders. And then it's me serving as the in-between for these teams with a little bit of middle management thrown in. So I hadn't ever been in a position like that with such a larger influx of individuals to directly manage, and outside of something that I have more day-to-day expertise in. Yes, I consider myself a expert when it comes to the operational aspect of pricing land, but building that into an actual software requires skill sets that are far outside my typical purview here. So throughout this process, there were a lot of hiccups, and ultimately what it came down to is that I could have communicated much better or had additional formats of requests within the back and forth communication that I needed from the team. So I think all of us utilize some type of screen recording software, Loom being the primary software that most folks are using, whether to document their own processes, train up new hires, or internal employees with new processes anyway. So I'm just constantly using Loom, right? Even just for 2 minutes here and there, boom, make a task out of it. It's just so simple. But when I was using this for the software project management, some of this could just get very complex quickly when, you have hundreds of rows, even into the thousands of rows of various logic flow script elements within an Excel sheet, and sometimes having to backtrack on comments that I had already made. I think that's probably pretty typical for people when, okay, you might be running through a task and like, wait, hold on, I just answered that question myself. Or, when I'm actually trying to explain this, it doesn't make as much sense, or I just had a new idea that's going to work even better. So, okay, just forget the last 5 minutes that I just mentioned and do it this way instead. So, quickly that can become pretty confusing for somebody who might not have as much the day-to-day expertise in what you're trying to convey. Particularly, I think that's most relevant for those of us who fulfill more visionary type roles within our business. I'm an okay implementer, but definitely more visionary and being able to figure out, okay, what's the what and the why, to find the who's, and then being able to implement that with the right type of talent. I mean, that's the only way to scale or get a lot more done, right? So yeah, I can kind of spout off a whole bunch, but I might not fully grasp the level of detail and reiteration needed to convey over the right steps the first time for a team that's been hired to implement. So, sometimes I might send over, a 20, 25-minute Loom video. Okay, follow this, and I might provide a short summary within an email, Slack, whatever, even if it's within, an Asana or other project management tool, and, just expect people to kind of figure it out. And then, I'm just distracted with other tasks and assuming a lot of what I requested was done. And then 2 weeks later, I'm checking in and, following up on some of these items. And it's like, oh, hold on. I don't recall you asking for this. And I'm speaking from the perspective of somebody I'm managing. And then, I have to go back and say, oh, well, I had detailed this 2 weeks ago in a separate Loom video, and I have to go find it again. So it's very easy for this to become kind of a mishmash of elements that are lost in translation when, trying to actively manage a company or project manage something more specific within a company itself. And so that is an issue writ large that I'm continuing to get a bit better at. It's definitely not my strong suit, managing this amount of people at any given time. Especially, I've never engaged in a deeper software level build out like this, where I was the kind of primary vision behind the product, especially something that doesn't exist, or there's nothing that there's a real template to build off within the industry just yet. So a lot of it just has to be done without any kind of formal guidelines there. So that has cost a lot of time, probably thousands of dollars that, went towards less imperative properties for this particular software, the land pricer that we're trying to build out. And, why I had the expectation, hey, we're going to be able to release by end of last year. Obviously, it's already January and not set to release yet. We probably have another week and a half to get the MVP set and then some initial beta testers into it. We're still gunning for that, but I am certainly kicking myself for both not being fast enough on my end with figuring out, okay, how can I speed along the core features to get these implemented by the engineering team and get it tested ASAP, and also just getting elements lost in translation where now we're having to backtrack and rebuild out functions that I thought were already assigned to the right people. So TBD on further insights there. This is a continued area that I'm trying to get better at. I'm sure many of you have similar stories or going through something yourself. One other quick hit as we wrap this episode up is that, communication is so critical day to day here, and setting up these, proper processes. But if you're finding that your employees or your assistants are kind of pushing back, or you have to remind them daily or even more than daily to follow, then maybe re-examine if there's a different manner in getting the same info conveyed over to you, or that might just be a little bit easier for your employees to follow. So, and that can kind of create some negative sentiment, even when you're trying to avoid micromanaging. If you're trying to kind of force feed a a certain request for how information is conveyed to you for various updates, and it's just not being followed, then you have to have the humility to go back and say, okay, can this be done in a different way that's not going to be getting as much pushback? Not necessarily deliberately, but pushback just in that it's not fitting into the workflow that you've already built up within your company. Of course, if it's imperative, okay, just figure out a way to make it work. Otherwise, try to think of it a little bit differently, and be able to smooth out some processes and probably keep everybody a little bit more content in the day-to-day hectic work environment. So that's just another quick hit there. Looking forward to the next episode. Hope you all enjoyed this one. Subscribe. We're brand new here, so subscription, sharing it with anybody who you think might get some benefit, leaving us a quick 5-star review if you think we deserve it. It's only going to help us grow. Of course, if you're looking for any land funding, check out seriousland.capital. If you want to sign up for our release for the Land Pricer software, landpricer.ai. If you're looking for zero cost diligence, on Thursdays, I host the Land Daily Diligence session on Facebook. Or if you're looking for any other type of land funders, check out landfunding.partners. Hope you all enjoy this. Looking forward to the next one. Take care.